365 Sports.
Welcome back to the show. Happy Tuesday. It's good to be here. I appreciate everybody for joining me. Yesterday, if you missed it, we talked about a whole bunch of stuff. We talked about Missouri basketball and a disappointing week of Missouri basketball, really. We talked about the college football playoff and a bunch of, that stuff. We talked about Mizzou's bowl game. They're playing in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl against the Virginia Cavaliers. If you're curious about how the bowl game, how the selections are made, you should go check out the Columbia Missourian. Quentin Corpule put out a really nice story about the Gator Bowl's process of picking these two teams. He talked with the commissioner of the Gator Bowl or whatever, and it's a good story. So go check that out if you want. It's pretty interesting how that all comes together. What else do we have? Yeah, just playoff stuff is still on everybody's mind. I see it all over Twitter still. One thing I will mention today, because I kind of forgot to yesterday, I want to give a shout out to Clark Lee of Vanderbilt. This guy, you hear coach speak all the time, and you hear about, it seems like it's a formulaic thing where you hear the same stuff from coaches. Like the example I'll give you is Steve Sarkisian of the Texas Longhorns. Immediately after they beat Texas A&M, he's campaigning for his team, his 3-loss football team, to be to be put in the playoffs. He's arguing that they scheduled Ohio State a tough game, and they shouldn't be penalized for that, which is a decent argument, but they also lost to Georgia, and Georgia stinks. Georgia's bad. And so I think we've gotten used to coaches coming out and making excuses and trying to come up with explanations for why their team missed the playoff. It's the committee's fault. It's our schedule's fault, whatever. Clark Lee, I've never seen a coach do this. I think it makes him super likable. I think it makes the Vanderbilt football program, an already very likable program, more likable. But he had a press conference after Vanderbilt was snubbed from the playoff, and he said, this is nobody's fault but our own. We had chances to win against Texas. We had chances to win against Alabama. It's our fault that we've been left out. And I just think that's such a fresh, thing from coaches right now. It's not something you see. And I love it. And Vanderbilt also came out and said, we love to play football, when asked if they were going to participate in a bowl game or why they chose to participate in a bowl game despite being left out of the playoff. Like Notre Dame took their ball and went home after they were left out of the playoffs, said, we're not playing in a bowl game. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, says, we love football. Of course we're playing. And so the Vanderbilt program right now, they just landed the number 1 quarterback in the country. Their stock is rising. They've got a quarterback going to the Heisman ceremony in New York, Diego Pavia, one of the finalists for the award. But yeah, I just thought that that stuff from Clark Lee was really good. And, it's not always the committee's fault sometimes. And I think Vanderbilt had a much better case to be put in than Texas, in my opinion. But I just like the accountability. I love that. You don't see that much right now. It's a bunch of complaining and stuff like that. So I like that Clark Lee came out and said that. Pretty cool. We got I don't have there's not a game to preview. There's not a game really to recap. So kind of winging it here on this Tuesday. But I figured, we just crossed over. We just finished early signing day in the high school ranks. So I figured, I haven't talked about that in terms of Missouri's class, and I thought today would be a good time to go over the class and just help you guys familiarize yourselves with another good class put together by Drinkwitz. Even though it's obvious that the emphasis on high school recruiting is going down for Missouri and for a lot of other programs, it is still evident that Missouri recruits well and can land big time players. But let's get into it here. Let's get right into it. All right, Missouri finishes the cycle early signing day. They were the 35th ranked recruiting class overall, according to 247 Sports. And if you look at the composite ranking, which basically combines On3, 247, and ESPN, they're the 34th ranked class in the country. So right around top 35. Which was good enough for, I believe, 13th in the SEC. They were in front of Auburn, Arkansas, and Kentucky, behind Vanderbilt, behind Mississippi State. Both schools landed 5 stars. Wait, where is Mississippi State's 5-star? I'm looking at their class. I don't see one, but it says they landed a 5-star. Oh, yeah. Braylon Womack is a borderline 5-star. And then Vanderbilt, I just mentioned him, Jared Curtis, the number 3 player in the country, according to 247 Sports, a Nashville, Tennessee native. Jared Curtis, the quarterback, flips from Georgia to Vanderbilt. So that's a big get for them. They're ahead of Missouri, but Missouri settling into 13th in the class. I think class ranking is always something to look at, but the most important recruiting is done here in the next month or two. Like the transfer portal is clearly more important these days. And so I think that, to me at least, I'm not too worried about being 13th in the SEC. I think it's more about the quality of guys and how many you get or anything like that. Missouri landed 19 players in this recruiting class. They had a couple of them flip from Missouri to another school on signing day, so they were once positioned with more, but they finished with 19. The only schools ranked above them with 19 or less recruits are Ole Miss, South Carolina, Oklahoma, and LSU. All the other ones have a bunch of commits. So, and if you look at the average, I always like to look at the average. I haven't checked this yet. The average. Come on, let me do this. The average grade for a recruit. So it takes away how many you have. Missouri has an average grade of 88.5, and it won't let me sort that. But that is higher than Vanderbilt and the Mississippi State. So they would, in terms of average, they are higher up than 13. Doesn't really matter though. They have 19 commits in this class. Let's go over them. Their top players. Well, actually, before we do that, I want to talk about the rank thing. I skipped over this in my notes. So if you look in the past, I checked back all the way to 2020. Missouri hasn't had a class ranked this low since 2020, which was Drinkwitz's first full year to recruit for Missouri. That was a 50th ranked class. From then, it went up to 30 to 18, 30 in 2021. It went to 18 in 2022. It went to 32 in 2023. 21 in 2024, and 14th in 2025. So Missouri had kind of been on a incline in terms of recruiting ranking. This year they fall back a little bit. That's probably by design, I would guess. I can't say that for sure, but I think they probably are choosing to prioritize the portal, and I think that's fine. All right, now let's get into the commits, the actual commits you need to know. The highest ranked commit in this class is offensive tackle. Projects, I think, to be a left tackle. Johnny Jones, a big boy, 6'6", from Venice, Florida. He's a 305-pound lineman. Jones. He was a UCLA commit coach. Missouri was able to flip him. He is a 4-star, the 99th best player in the country, according to 247, the 10th best offensive tackle, the 13th best player in Florida. Number 2, you have Taj Overton, defensive lineman from Owasso, Oklahoma. 6'3", 275 pounds. Don't know whether he'll be interior or exterior defensive line, but he is a 162 player in the class, the number 3 player out of Oklahoma. The other two, if you look, I always like to look at the in-state, kind of what happens in state. Oklahoma's best player from Norman went to California. Isn't that interesting? Jalen, that's Daniel McMorris. And then a defensive lineman, Jalen Battle, the second best player in Oklahoma, goes to Baylor. Taj Overton to Missouri. The 4th best guy goes to Washington. The 5th best guy goes to Arkansas. And finally, the 6th best guy goes to Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma schools, maybe by choice, aren't really recruiting in state, but Missouri gets a great one out of Oklahoma and Taj Overton. Then you have cornerback 4-star Jackson Gates from Laverne, California, 6'1", 175 pounds, the 174th best player in the country, the 19th best cornerback in his class. This is a guy I'm pretty excited about. Was committed to BYU previously. Missouri flips him, and I think this is one of the best gets in this class, especially because Missouri in the secondary struggled this year. I think this is a guy that has a chance to contribute right away next year, depending on what Missouri is able to do in the cornerback market and transfer portal. But he's one to keep an eye on. The 4th highest ranked recruit in this class is 4-star linebacker from Alabama, J.J. Bush, 6'3", 210 pounds. J.J. Bush from Theodore, Alabama. He is the 374th best player in the country, the 25th best linebacker in the class. Had offers from Arkansas, LSU, Baylor. Where else? He visited Arkansas and LSU. His other offers included, if this page will ever load, that would be great. We're taking our time, of course. Take your time. He had other offers from big schools like Florida, like Miami, like Ole Miss. So good offers. I love to look at guys' offers as well as a recruiting ranking. J.J. Bush from Theodore, Alabama, the 4th best recruit in this class. The 5th best recruit in this class is DeMarcus Johnson. This guy is massive. He is a JUCO guy. DeMarcus Johnson from Hutchinson Community College in Hutchinson, Kansas. This guy is massive defensive lineman, 6'7", 260 pounds. He is the 2nd highest ranked JUCO guy out of in the country, in the entire country. The number 1 guy is an offensive tackle going to Arizona State, but DeMarcus Johnson is, huge. This guy is huge. He finished, let's see, I'm going to try to find his stats here. Yeah, this year, in 2024, 2025, this is the last year that he had stats registered for some reason. I don't know why. But he had 8.5 tackles for loss that year. He had 4 sacks, 29 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass breakup. This guy was pretty outstanding that year. He had 1 game in which he finished with 4 tackles for loss and a sack, and a 99-0 win over Ellsworth Community College. That's crazy. My goodness. So he's a big dude, difference maker. I think he absolutely has a chance to contribute right away. He's a a big, obviously just a massive guy. Missouri probably going to lose a bunch of talent on the defensive line with Damon Wilson and Zion Young both probably going to get drafted. So he's going to be a big get for them. So those are your top 5 commits. I can run through the rest of the class. Jaden McGregory, a 3-star from Iowa. Keenan Harris, linebacker from Missouri. Gavin Sidwar, the quarterback from Pennsylvania. Brandon Anderson, a offensive lineman from Georgia. Jabari Brady, a wide receiver from Florida. Khalif Canty, an offensive lineman from Detroit and Michigan. Brian Wessel, an offensive tackle from Jackson, Missouri. Offensive lineman Braylon Ellison from Boonville, Missouri. Devin Hill Lomax, wide receiver from Illinois. Isaac Jensen, a tight end from Nebraska. Maxwell Warner, a running back from Chicago. Ahmad Billings, a cornerback from Alabama. Brody Jones, a safety from Fayetteville, Arkansas. And Carter Stewart, a safety from Pearland, Texas. That is your entire list of guys in this class. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, then I'll be back to continue talking about this class and what exactly it could give Missouri right away in immediate production.
Missouri, your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more. All from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. Missouri fans know game day, the tailgates, the noise, the passion. Now, with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense. Just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code ALLMIZZOU. New Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code ALLMIZZOU. Crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Okay, we're back. All right. Well, as I was talking about the recruiting class, and I wanted to look at this immediate production out of true freshman recruits. I went back for the last couple of years to see, which guys contribute immediately to the team. And Missouri does have a history of putting true freshmen out there and having them be pretty productive. And so we'll run through that right now. Then I'll give you a couple candidates I think could have a chance. Could have a chance to contribute on the football field right away. All the way back, we'll go all the way back to 2020, which was Drinkwitz's first year at Missouri. Ennis Rakestraw was a guy, everybody who's listening probably knows exactly who Ennis Rakestraw is. But Ennis Rakestraw was the cornerback from Duncanville, Texas, right up the road from where I am. He was choosing between Alabama, Texas, and Missouri. And Missouri gets him. It's Drinkwitz's first big recruit for Missouri. He's a 3-star. And he kind of went viral. Drinkwitz went viral after he saw Rakestraw commit. He was excited about him for good reason, because Rakestraw turned around and played. He started 10 games at cornerback in his true freshman season. He made a big play against LSU in that game where Missouri upset the defending national champions. He made the big pass breakup late. He was the first true freshman on defense to start for Mizzou in a season opener since Jordan Ulmer in 2017. So that was a big deal, and it was kind of the first guy who, of the Drinkwitz era that started right away out of high school. So this is kind of where the pattern begins. And you also had that year, I mean, you had Chris Abrams-Drain play a couple games as a receiver, actually, before he switched over to corner. But it was Rakestraw mainly who was the big-time contributor there. In 2021, Missouri's class, you'll probably remember that class for a couple of these guys, but that class had Connor Tollison. It had Dominic Lovett. Mekhi Wingo ended up being a really good player, not for Missouri, but for LSU. Dalen Carnell was in that class, so a couple familiar faces there. But Dominic Lovett played a little bit as a true freshman that year. I think he started a few games. I'm not sure. I mean, it was obviously his sophomore year where he kind of broke onto the scene, but he did play in all 13 games in 2021 as a true freshman. He started 6 of those games, had 26 catches for 173 yards, a couple scores. So that was one guy out of that 2021 class that played right away. You also had Dalen Carnell. Didn't play a ton, honestly. Played in 4 games, but wasn't really a consistent presence out there for the defense. And then Connor Tollison didn't play much at all. So it was Dominic Lovett who was kind of the guy that year, the true freshman that year. In 2022, this one's pretty obvious, right? You have Luther Burden III. He played a ton, obviously, his freshman year. He's just a massive recruit out of East St. Louis from Missouri. Just an incredibly exciting commitment for them. And it was obvious to me he was always going to play in the first round. It was never really much of a question. He was going to be sorry, did I say I meant I think I said he was always going to play in the first round. I meant he's always going to play as a true freshman. He had some big moments, a kick return his true freshman year, a couple touchdowns his first game. I think he scored 2 touchdowns maybe in his first game, which was against, I want to say, Louisiana Tech. I think he scored twice in that game, maybe. I covered that game for the Maneater, so that was a long time ago. So that year, 2022, you obviously had Luther Burden contributing right away. It wasn't just Luther Burden, though. Can you guess who else was a part of that class that played right away for the Tigers? I bet you probably can. It was Armand Mimbu, the first-round pick in this year's draft. He played in 10 games, starting 4 of them in 2022. Yeah, he was a big-time true freshman player for them, and obviously he turned into quite the offensive tackle for Missouri. All right, we're on to 2023. A couple guys play right away in 2023. This is a big year for Missouri. They go 11-2, win the Cotton Bowl. Brett Norfleet is one of your guys who gets in and plays a lot right away. The tight end commitment. He was actually a lower ranked recruit than Jordan Harris out of high school, but he was a big time play for them. He's a freshman All-American, played in 12 games, scored twice, 2 touchdowns in the season finale against Arkansas. But yeah, he had a great season, was a big time contributor for them. He had 197 yards and 3 touchdowns on 18 catches that year. Yes, he had 2 receiving touchdowns against Arkansas. So there you go. He was not the only one that year. They had a couple guys play right away this year. A bunch of guys that I'm sure Missouri fans will remember. Obviously, Marvin Burks Jr., a safety, still with the Tigers. Saw action as a true freshman in all 13 games. Don't know how many sacks he had, but he did play in 13 games. And I remember, watching him that year. It was like, I think Marvin Burks is going to really turn into a guy because he's out there as a true freshman. And, the last 2 years, he's been the starter for that team. back there at safety. And then lastly, I'll never forget this guy's touchdown catch against Memphis in that game in St. Louis. Marquise Johnson, a 3-star recruit, played in all 13 games, had 13 catches for 383 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 76 yards against Memphis. And I think it was all on one play. I'm pretty sure he just had a 76-yard touchdown catch. He had a 44-yard touchdown catch against Vanderbilt, 38-yard touchdown catch against Kentucky, which I think that 38-yarder against Kentucky was the fake punt, if I'm remembering correctly. It may have been, yeah, it was. I think it was thrown by Luke Bauer, the punter. So that kind of turned Missouri's season around. So Marquise Johnson, a big-time player in 2023. 2024 really is the only exception to this study I've done, because it was a great class, but you didn't really have a guy contribute a ton as a true freshman. The highlight of this class was Williams Nwaneri, from Lee Summit North, 5-star recruit. Didn't play a ton. I remember he got a sack against UMass, but he transferred to Nebraska after the season because he didn't play a ton. Courtney Crutchfield was a 4-star, top 50 receiver from Arkansas. Also didn't play a ton. Transferred to Arkansas. Jaylen Brown from Alabama, big-time defensive lineman, 4-star. Didn't play a ton. Transferred to South Carolina. This was a great class, but not a lot of these guys are still here. Trajan Greco is a guy who's still here. He played a little bit as a true freshman, but not enough for me to, really mention it. I mean, it wasn't like a true contributor thing. And then Kewan Lacey, I think absolutely could have contributed early on as a true freshman, but they didn't play him a ton, and he transferred to Ole Miss. God, this is a talented, really, really talented class, but they just didn't have anybody who played a ton right away. And this year, obviously, there has been some contributors, some true freshman contributors. The biggest one being Donovan Olubade, who's come on and he's looked like, if not the best receiver in that room for Missouri, probably the second best receiver in that room for Missouri. Donovan Olubade has been awesome. Matt Zollers obviously was forced into action as a true freshman. Dayton Hopkins played a little bit. Demarion Fulks returned some kickoffs. Marquise Davis had one good game where he ran for a bunch of yards, but Olubade is really the only one I would say who was really a big-time contributor as a true freshman. And I guess I'll throw Zollers in there, even though it was because the 2 guys in front of him got hurt. Dante McClellan was a true freshman linebacker this year from Ohio, and if you remember the Central Arkansas game, he had a pick 6 in that. So it looked like for a little bit maybe he'd be a pretty early contributor, but didn't turn out to be really. All right, I have a couple candidates of guys who could turn into true freshman contributors next year for Missouri. I think the first guy is the cornerback, Jackson Gates from California. I think there's a chance that they're just going to need bodies back there. You're going to lose Drayden Norwood. You're going to lose Toronto Pride. So you're going to need bodies. And if they can go get some help in the portal, I think they will. But I still think Jackson Gates is going to have a chance to see the field quickly. I don't know. It just seems like a guy that could do it. Demarcus Johnson, the big defensive lineman, JUCO player, is the other one. Not a true freshman just because he's played JUCO ball, but I do think I would be shocked if he doesn't play a lot next year for Missouri on that defensive line. So those are 2 guys I think could play right away. Also, Jabari Brady, the receiver, not a super highly ranked recruit, but not a low ranked recruit, but he's a 3-star. We've seen a 3-star receiver contribute as a true freshman, Marquise Johnson. This guy, Jabari Brady, is from Florida, the 516th best player in the country, but he had offers from Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Colorado. He had really good offers. He's 6'1", 205 pounds, could be a guide. So to contribute early. I think he's one of the most underrated players in this class as well for Missouri. Another underrated guy, Keenan Harris, the 5th best player in the state of Missouri from St. Louis University, SLU, 574th best player in the country. He signed with Missouri over Arizona State, Arkansas, Auburn, had some big-time offers. Florida State, so another underrated guy there. Missouri only landed 3 in-state recruits. That's Keenan Harris, offensive tackle Bryson Wessel, and interior offensive lineman Braylon Ellison. So only 3 guys out of the state. The other top guys were 5-star offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell. He went to Miami. Missouri recruited him really hard. 4-star defensive lineman from DeSmet is Titan Davis, another guy Missouri recruited pretty hard. He went to Michigan. Demetrius Thompson, a 4-star edge rusher, went to Boston College. DeSephan Walker, a 4-star running back, went to Oklahoma. And then your 5th highest ranked recruit is Keenan Harris, who goes to Missouri. So there you go. That's kind of your rundown of the recruiting class. Hopefully that's interesting or helpful to at least one of you. I don't know. Last thing I'll do before I let you guys go is I'll talk about Drinkwitz's new salary. The details came out on that. He's getting a base annual salary of $10.25 million a year. That number does increase every season. There's some interesting terms here. If he wins 8 games, 8 regular season games, it is an automatic 1-year extension to his deal, and it'll add $200,000 to the last year. So it's a 6-year extension. So if he wins 8 years this year, in 2026, he'll be extended to 2033, and it'll be $200,000 more than whatever his 2032 salary is, if that makes sense. He gets a $16 million assistant coaching salary pool, which is a $4 million increase from last year. Last year is $12 million, so expect maybe for Drinkwitz to go get some new coordinators or assistants or anything, or at least give them raises or whatever. That's something interesting. He has a bunch of incentives, like he earns $25,000 if he finishes in any poll at the end of the year. So that's AP poll, college football poll, coaches poll, etc. He gets $50,000 for 10 wins, $100,000 for 11, and $150,000 for 12. So there are a bunch of incentives, but that was those are kind of the details that came out on that extension for Drinkwitz. All right, that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Come back tomorrow. I'll have something to talk about them as well. But happy Tuesday. See you.
365 Sports.